Hi everyone, Michelle Mira, spiritual success coach, breatharian healer, modern shaman, and dancer. I am going to just let a stream of consciousness come through on this from a question that I've been asked and have been uh, wanting to answer. I say stream of consciousness because this is something that I have been processing and working on for a while. And the question was, what is light and what is dark? And specifically, dark energies and light energies. I feel like the question was related to the false light and the controlling darkness. So I'm just going to allow what comes through to come through. So what I've noticed throughout the years is that light and dark have changed according to my perspective and where I have come from in my journey, what has been healed and what was still asking for attention and healing. And through personal experience and also witnessing others, I experienced bringing in a lot of light, doing certain practices, and without working on the parts or the wounded aspects that were still in the dark. And so at first, the experience of this was becoming ungrounded and it seemed that the amount of light that was brought in had to match, or the darkness had to match an equal proportion to the light. And so what I've found is that the wounded parts, or let's just talk about the wounded masculine, because this is an aspect that is really in our face right now with our world, with our leadership, with what our leaders are reflecting to us and triggering in us is the wounded masculine. So if you have practices that bring in a lot of light before you have done a lot of work on the shadow aspects or the repressed aspect or the aspects that have been demonized, pushed away, judged, then the darkness can come out amplified, and it can make life very difficult for others and yourself. And so when our leaders have worked in secret societies, done secret rituals, anything like that, and brought in a lot of light, and there's still wounded parts in shadow, then the dark aspects will come out, act out, and project on everybody around them. And by projecting, I mean the parts that have been repressed and not healed will come out to attack others or manipulate others in a way that causes them to go into shame, guilt, fear, lack, terror, oppression. And the wounded masculine, I'll say, we'll just talk about that for now. The wounded masculine will oftentimes come out in controlling others, in causing them to shut down in fear, in wanting them to shut down in fear, in wanting them to go into guilt and shame, because these are the parts of the unhealed wounded masculine that is just asking for attention and healing. And so what I find is that most of the time this comes from a wounding from a parent or a guardian or someone that as a child we look to take care of us, to love us, to be that God figure for us. And a lot of times that wound will show up as, I'm not enough, I'll never be enough, I'll never be good enough, there isn't enough. And so when this wounded part gets pushed away and denied, later it comes out as extreme judgment of others, extreme controlling others, narcissistic tendencies of feeling superior to others, because deep down in shadow there's this feeling of inferior. I'm never enough. My father was never proud of me. He was always writing me. He was always, I was never enough. That sort of story. And so when these people with a lot of power have these unhealed selves, they come out as dark energies, manipulative energies, controlling agendas, scary, evil parts. And when we talk about dark and light, it can be confusing because we can be seeing someone that appears to have a lot of light, say a spiritual leader that appears to have a lot of light and a lot of good things to say, and they seem to be doing great things for other people. And then this dark aspect comes out and it's controlling, it's manipulative. We don't feel empowered by it. We actually feel triggered by it, disgusted by it. We can't look at it. It's so triggering to us. And so I've had personal experience with this, with others being that way. And I shared one story in my previous video. But I've also had this on a personal experience, going through the expansion, bringing in so much light, but I hadn't worked on the wounded masculine inside of me yet. And so all this light coming in brought a lot of power, but that power came out twisted, and it ended up projecting on other people, hurting other people, controlling other people. And it was all because this part inside that had been pushed away into shadow was deeply hurt and rejected and just crying for attention, acceptance, and to feel enough. And for years, I didn't understand why things were coming out twisted and why I kept, seeing hurt all around me and why things were so harsh. And until doing the shadow work and really going into those parts, and I'm not claiming to be done in any way whatsoever. I am just sharing this objectively as the way that I see it. So the healed divine masculine would be like the Christ energy, completely unconditionally loving, accepting, just giving, and with no agenda, just light in a way that is radiating from within, a completeness and knowledge, and a being able to hold a space that is solid, open, grounded, with no agenda, with no manipulations, with no wrath. And that is the perfectly healed divine masculine. When we go into places of control, manipulation, any of the narcissistic, self-centeredness, the me first, uh, the wanting to be condescending, put someone down so we feel better. All of these are indicators of the wounded masculine. And when we see this in leadership, it's really easy for us to project our own wounded masculine onto them and make them the bad guys. And what I'm learning is that everything that is rising in our world is for us, is to show us a part of us. And if we don't like it, then that is a part that is calling out for healing and attention. Now, people get really upset and talk about, you shouldn't take it, you have to have boundaries. Yes, there's both. There is, when we come into a place of healing these aspects and we aren't triggered by them anymore, then we are able to come from a place of true love, power, and healthy boundaries just automatically come out. So in my experience, when I have aspects that are still needing attention and healing, I get highly reactive, I get highly defensive, combative, and I'm fighting back because I'm protecting this part that is scared. When the work has been done and it's come into more of a full integration into self, then that defensiveness doesn't come up, that wanting to fight doesn't come up in the same way. It actually comes up in a very loving, flowing way, and what comes out of my mouth, this is just personal, is a very firm but loving boundary. And so there's no violence behind it. There's no judgment behind it. It just comes out as a very firm, this is the boundary. And the other person accepts it. There's no conflict there. There's no debating. So that's the difference I've noticed, because trust me, I used to be very defensive and I would go into revenge. I would seek revenge. I would throw curses out left and right without knowing what I was doing. I would psychically attack people because I was judging them and making them wrong, and I didn't know what I was doing. And when I learned how easy it is to curse someone, when I realized how revenge is taking energy from them and also creating karma for myself, as well as curses. When you throw curses out, you get 100% of that back because you are creating your own karma. So when I realized all of this, it just really didn't make sense to do that anymore and to act out. And arguing is just, for me, normally when I'm protecting something that is just crying out for healing. I have found that it's much healthier after doing the work to have a conversation with someone that is empowering for both people, and boundaries naturally come out of that. And I've also noticed when I have toxic interactions that don't feel good, that I have to acknowledge that there's still something there for me to work through. The more that I go into these dark places inside of me, the more demons that I face inside of me, the less dark entities, less dark spirits, the less that I have those in my universe. Like they're not attracted to a fully integrated, healed spaces. They are here to remind us that we have places to heal, places that have been demonized. They're here to reflect that back to us, to say, here, do the work. And the more that we do the work, the more that we face these scary, terrifying, yucky parts, the less we have to combat what we would call evil, demonic, um, restless spirits, and that sort of thing. So there is no wrong way to do it. Everybody has their own beautiful journey. And I believe that every experience we have is coming up for us to look at, to learn how to love deeper. And I don't mean airy fairy love. It should all feel good all the time. I don't mean that kind of love. I mean like brutally honest, break your heart open love. Break your heart open with the suffering that you see in front of you. Accept it, love it, come into a very real acknowledgement of it, and come from that place. Come from that place. So it freaking hurts. It hurts to have your heart broken open and to love so deeply you don't even have the words. You just don't even have the words to describe how much you love someone, and you don't even know them. To feel the suffering of an animal that's been hurt, and to feel it so deeply that you feel like you could die, and to feel compassion, to feel more loving toward these parts inside you that have been tormented and tortured, and you know, it felt like you've died many times. So what is light and dark? I feel like light is ultimately love, divine love, and dark is lacking that love, spaces that are disconnected from that love. And I mean infinite love. I mean the space that is infinity, that has everything in it, that has full light and dark aspects of infinite love and possibilities. So there is a complete space that light and dark come together within the void. And this is our essence. This is our presence. This is our us before any movement in creation. And this is where creation begins. And this is that space between our mantras and meditation, and that space that the breath leads us to in meditations or in communion with nature. And then there is duality that contains light and dark, light aspects, dark aspects, light energies, dark energies, creation, destruction. And so light and dark is sometimes relative to what we're seeing, where we're seated, and what we're focused on. It can be heaven or hell, heaven and hell, light and dark, angelic, demonic. But ultimately, the perfect state of completeness is it contains the even balance of light and dark. So this is my answer to this question, and it sounds complex, but yet as it's coming out of my mouth feels absolutely profoundly simple. And I believe that we are shown exactly what we need in every single moment, and that our job is to trust fully and completely the process, to trust what is being shown to us right now, what is coming up for us right now, and then noticing, are we going into judgment? Are we going into compassion? Are we playing out both? Sometimes we have to play out the war, um, as just it's an act. It's duality. We're playing fully in the illusion, fully in the hologram. Um, but I find that the more that we face, the more we're able to play in the hologram with a completely open, loving heart, and we don't get rocked in the same way. So, that's what I am allowing. That's what I'm working on now, is really being able to trust what comes up for me in the moment, because it's so easy to judge something better than something else. And it's really just like kind of a noticing when that happens, and what space am I coming from, and how do I want to play this out? I mean, do I want to get into a big, huge argument with someone and go through the full drama of it and really like purge out all that information, purge out all those emotions and get it all out, and then come back and make amends? Do I want to play it all out like that? Or, do I want to like just avoid all that and come into a softer space faster? And that's really, it's our choice. It's always our choice. And right now, more than ever, we are being, we're able to use our free will to choose what we want our experience to be. We get to, now more than ever, choose the timeline and what we want it to look like. And, you know, I had the full experience of feeling like I was possessed by dark entities, and then being able to release them. And I had that full experience. I had the full experience of working with disembodied spirits, and the darker aspects, the darker elements. And we are here to get to know the darkness as much as the light. And that's part of, I believe, part of the full experience and contract that we've come to play out. And so, many of us as women have taken on unconscious contracts of being the sacred prostitute, and we're getting that full experience of playing that out now and breaking those contracts, and being that energy, being that Magdalene that gets judged, and we judge, and we carry shame and guilt and just this heavy dark stuff, and we work stuff through our bodies, we work karma through. And so we get to, many of us are playing this out fully, experiencing the misery of it, and then deciding we don't want this anymore. We want to break these contracts. We want to release these agreements to let that karma run through us, to use sexuality as a form of transmuting. We get to a point where we decide this is too painful and it's not necessary anymore. But we are, some of us, fully playing that out to get the full experience of it. And many of us are playing fully the codependency, or the savior complex, where we feel like we're here to be, we're here until all of suffering ends. We're here to take on other people's suffering. We're here to save them, all of this. And then many of us get to the point where we decide, oh, no, I don't have to do that anymore. All I have to do is work on me. And so this is another way of getting to know light and dark, you know, to really just full on jump into the experience of it, to experience sexual abuse, to experience, I mean, you name it. We decide on some level to fully experience what racism looks like, what hate. You know, I have felt seething rage toward the feminine, and from the wounded masculine, I have felt this that they despise me just for being a woman. I have fully felt that and felt how horrible that feels. And so I chose to, you know, have that experience. I chose to go into that and feeling the shame of being in a female body, the shame of being overweight, the, you know, feeling the judgment of other people that find my body grotesque. So, you know, there's again infinite possibilities of timelines that we can choose. And I can see where I chose one timelines that were very painful. And what did I get out of it? What was the takeaway of it? That I somehow more completely understand what's in the dark. I completely understand a little more how the dark works, and how predictable it is, and then understand how the light works. Not completely, because I feel like the light and the dark are infinite. But this is where I'm at now, and I wanted to share it. And again, I don't know if this came out coherently, if it makes sense, or if it's just rambling. But I'm working on allowing channeling and stream of consciousness to come out more without editing it. So that's the journey I'm working with now. Okay, that feels complete. Thank you for watching. Click subscribe if you're new. If you feel called to share an experience of this, I would love that. Again, we're all on this journey sharing our take on it and our what we're seeing right now through the eyes of where we're seated. And so I don't want any bullying of anybody else. If you hear something that you don't agree with, that's fine. But try not to be hateful if someone's just sharing their experience, please. And we can all kind of, you know, go through this together and expand. And I really truly believe that we're all moving in the same direction and on the same page, so to speak, even though our situations and our timelines look different. I believe that we are walking hand in hand. And so much love to all of you, and let's keep sharing.